And we are going to start off with an individual who was here 25 years ago, 1989, when the Pennsylvania Leadership Conference was just an idea that was brought back from CPAC from a couple of college students. They came to Harrisburg and they talked with Frederick Anton, and Fred thought it was a great idea and gathered a bunch of conservatives together. And the first leadership conference took place in 1989 with a little-known congressman from Georgia by the name of Newt Gingrich as the featured speaker. Mr. Anton has stayed with the Leadership Conference, has been our guiding light ever since. He is the president of the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association and the chairman of the board of the Pennsylvania Leadership Council, which puts on the annual Pennsylvania Leadership Conference. Let's welcome to the podium Fred Anton.
Thank you very much, Loman. And I'll begin, as I always do, by holding up a copy of this year's program. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to know the who's who of conservatives in Pennsylvania, look at the panelists in this leadership booklet, and don't only get this year's booklet, but go back into preceding years and you will see the who's who of the many conservative activists who've appeared at this conference. Now, I have a very warm feeling in my heart about the Leadership Conference. It's one of the things that I'm most proud of in my career. And the history of the conference and the history of the start of the conference is on page 20 of your booklet. And I want to recognize the four people, two of whom are no longer actively engaged in conservative activities. Susan Staub, the longtime president of Right to Work. Don Everly, the founder of the Commonwealth Foundation. Jim Panyard, who was at that time running the PMA in Harrisburg and is now a reporter doing excellent work for Media Trackers. And finally, the last member was Charlie Giroux. Charlie Giroux is a political commentator, a PR specialist, who is very active and has had a long career in Harrisburg. And I want to recognize those people. I have spent the motivation for this conference was that we really didn't think the Republican Party was paying enough attention to conservative values. We thought there was too little difference between the Republican Party and the Democratic Party as far as business-friendly policies which would make the business climate better and move the state forward. Now, today, I want to talk about just two issues, major issues, that I think are not getting the right type of attention, not getting as much publicity, and being spun in the wrong way by some of our political leaders. The greatest opportunity for economic development, prosperity, and wealth in Pennsylvania is what? Let's hear it. Marcellus Shale and Marcellus Shale development. The amount of energy that can be brought out of the Marcellus Shale deposit in Pennsylvania can almost make the United States energy independent. Now, I applaud Governor Corbett for his work in trying to create an environment where the Marcellus Shale can be developed. He's done a good job. He's kept taxes at a reasonable level. And we've gotten a tremendous amount of benefit in Pennsylvania already out of the Marcellus Shale, and it really hasn't been highlighted and really has not been emphasized. Energy prices for those who've used natural gas in Pennsylvania energy costs have gone down tremendously. Carbon emissions have gone down in Pennsylvania. While originally the word was that many of the employees working in Marcellus Shale were from outside Pennsylvania, that has been reversed, and now Pennsylvania workers have been trained, and 80% of the workers are from Pennsylvania. Go into the Marcellus Shale areas and look at the development and ask the people about the wealth that has been created as a result of Marcellus Shale development. Now, we're stalled with Marcellus Shale. We're stalled with Marcellus Shale because we can't get the gas out, because we don't have the pipelines to get the gas to either refining areas or other areas where it can be used. If you read various things, you see there's all sorts of controversy about, can we build a pipeline here? Can we build a pipeline there? There's all sorts of attempts to reverse the flow of gas from where it has been going to allow the gas to flow out. Now, the true opportunity for Marcellus Shale is export of the gas. And there are tremendous barriers at the federal level to export the gas. And there are also many, for one reason or another, who don't want this gas exported. Now, what has been the attitude toward shale gas in the Marcellus Shale beyond Pennsylvania? Well, there's three attitudes. One is no fracking or horizontal drilling. That's the New York approach. There is an approach that is rapidly developing in Pennsylvania, and that is the position that all the Democratic gubernatorial candidates are taking, and it's taxes, taxes, and more taxes on Marcellus Shale. That really is the only concrete proposal I've heard from any of the Democrats for how they're going to solve budgetary problems in Pennsylvania. Now, in my judgment, that is the wrong approach. The right approach is, what can we do to enhance the development of natural gas in Pennsylvania? I would like to hear Governor Corbett and the Corbett administration talk more about Marcellus Shale and what they can do to take advantage of this tremendous opportunity in Pennsylvania. Now, the second point I want to talk about is business climate. With Marcellus Shale, we will have cheaper energy in Pennsylvania, and we will have stock feed for certain industries. But however, we do not have a good business climate. And why don't we have a good business climate? We don't have a good business climate because of inordinate union power. Now, I have 2 points to make about that. The first one is the outrageous loophole which allows unions to harass, threaten, and stalk, and threaten with weapons of mass destruction in a labor dispute, and it is not a crime under Pennsylvania law. That is an outrage. And a bill has been passed by the Pennsylvania House to close that loophole. It was only passed because of prosecution, not by local authorities, but by federal authorities, of a bunch of labor goons in Philadelphia who destroyed a project by Rob Reeves at a Quaker meeting house in Chestnut Hill. It took federal authorities under the federal racketeering statute to bring those goons to prosecution. Now, without that, this other item would never have come to attention of the Philadelphia Inquirer and consequently the legislature. The other matter having to do with labor unions, which you will hear more about at this conference, is something called paycheck protection. Paycheck protection makes the unions collect their dues from their members rather than have a payroll deduction at the state level. Now, short of right to work, which Wisconsin and Michigan, two industrial states that were floundering like Pennsylvania, short of enacting right to work, this type of a reform would make the unions operate on their own, make them appeal to their members. It's something the Commonwealth Foundation is spearheading. All of the business community has been behind it. It's an active issue in the Pennsylvania Assembly right now. Governor Corbett said he would sign it if it passed, and I urge you to acquaint yourself with this issue and get behind it. Now, I also want to say I am 100% behind Tom Corbett for re-election, and I hope that every member here will do everything he can for the re-election for Tom Corbett. We do not need one of the four. And listen to these Democratic candidates, and you will know what you are going to get as policy in Pennsylvania proposed by the governor if one of them is elected. Now, I'm particularly impressed by the two speakers that are going to follow me. The two most conservative statewide elective figures in Pennsylvania history since 1950. And of course, I say particularly about Pat Toomey, who will be introduced by Lohman, that the conference, and it says it in the history, this conference was revived by the enthusiasm that Pat Toomey created in his unfortunately unsuccessful primary against Arlen Specter in 2004. I hope you enjoy the conference, and thank you for your attention.